Definitely, that will be a great idea.
Well, a very good afternoon, and I welcome all the panel members and even dear participants for today's panel discussion on teaching English online. Am I audible to all of you? Okay. Well, uh, as you all know, teaching online has become one of the important topics today due to this pandemic. And yes, before I talk about today's panel discussion, and let me introduce all the panel members one by one. And I'll be giving you a brief bio of each one of the panel members. And later I'll give you a few instructions how to go ahead with, and how to participate in this panel discussion. So let me introduce one of the panel members named Muhammad Mohsin. Mr. Muhammad Mohsin did his B.Ed from Amravati University and BA and MA in English Literature and MA in Urdu from SRTMU, Nanded. And he is presently working as PGT of English in Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangatan, Mumbai region. And he has 13 years of teaching experience as English teacher. And he also acted as resource person and master trainer in workshops like content enrichment and pedagogical training at Bangalore, and orientation of new CBSE textbooks for subject teachers of classes 9 and 10th at Goa. And then he also participated and even acted as a trainer, communication skill for students at secondary level at Nasik. Thank you so very much, sir, for being here. And I hope
Thank you.
you are going to enlighten all our participants, and as well as even we are going to have a fruitful session. Thank you, sir, for being here. And let me introduce you another eminent and young scholar, Dr. Santosh Mahapatra. Dr. Santosh Mahapatra has completed his PhD in English language teaching from University of Hyderabad in the year 2015 and MPhil in English language education with English for Science and Technology as the area of specialization from EFLU in 2010. Before joining BITS Filani Hyderabad campus, he also worked at University of Hyderabad. There he taught for MCA and even graduation students. And apart from even working as a teaching assistant at English and Foreign Languages University in Hyderabad. And coming to his research interest, he is very much interested to teach online ESL teacher development, and he is also one of his area of specializations is digital literacies and critical language in education policy studies. And Dr. Santosh Mahapatra is an expert member in syllabus subcommittee for master's program in English language pedagogy, Mumbai University, and he also member of standing committee for selection of English language instructor on contract at IIT Jodhpur. Thank you, Santosh, for being here, and we would be expecting you to enlighten us and even our dear participants. Thank you so very much. And let me introduce you another panel member for today's panel discussion, Dr. Pratap Preetham, and he is an assistant professor of education. And as he has already introduced, that he works for Bhopal campus and one of the satellite campus of Maulana Azad National Urdu University. And let me talk about his academic qualifications. And Dr. Banu Pratap Preetham did his PhD from National Institute of Education, Planning and Administration, New Delhi in the year 2017. And coming to his MPhil And he did his MPhil from National University of Educational Planning and Administration, New Delhi, in the year 2009. And he has also cleared NET, and he was even along with even this JRF in the year 2006. And he did his MA in English language teaching, teaching English as a second language from Central Institute of English and Foreign Languages. Now it becomes FLU in the year 2006. And he also did his MAt from Benares in the University, Varanasi, in the year 2004. And coming to his work experience, he has almost 15 years of teaching and research experience, and worked in various projects of educational planning and administration at NUEPA, New Delhi. And he has published even books and even articles. And coming to his books, and Dr. Banu Pratap Preetham published one of the famous books on privatization of teacher education in India, policies and practices, and which was published by Bookman publication in the year 2020. And he also edited a book on Indian higher education at crossroads in the year 2015, along with Professor Kawaja, M. Sahida, and Banu Pratap Preetham. And coming to his research articles, he has published 15 research articles and presented around 20 research papers in both national and international seminars and conferences. And apart from even publications and even research articles, he has attended several professional development programs like orientation program, a refresher course in education, and orientation workshop on qualitative research methods in education, and workshop on teaching with technology using Moodle and MOOCs, and workshop on SLM preparation for B.Ed program. And he also attended faculty recruitment and development in higher education. And he also attended Nai Talim experimental learning and community engagement, along with even refresher course on MOOCs. Thank you so very much, sir, for being here. And we welcome
Thank you.
you for today's panel discussion.
Thank
And
you.
last but not least, and we have a senior professor, associate professor with us, and Dr. Huma Yaqub. Dr. Huma Yaqub completed her master's and doctoral degrees in English from Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Her doctoral work is on Thomas More's Orientalism. Presently, she is an associate professor of English, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Lucknow campus, and has more than 16 years of teaching and research experience. She has deep interest in literature with environmental concerns, and recently completed even minor project on eco-critical analysis. And her other research interests include Orientalism, post-colonial literature, and Indian English literature, etc. Her published works include more than 15 research papers in various reputed national and international journals, and edited books and presented research papers in various national and international seminars and conferences. And she has given invited talks on eco-criticism and environmental ethics. And recently, she taught some courses like fiction in English, English poetry, Indian writings in English, and post-colonial literature, literary theory and criticism, and Urdu literature in translation, individual and society, modern Indian literature, translation studies, research and publication ethics. And she is also a member of many academic bodies. Like, she is a life member of academic bodies, including like Indian Association for Commonwealth Literature and Language Studies, and she is also a member of Association for English Studies of India, and Ecosophical Foundation for the Study of Literature and Environment. Thank you so very much, madam. Pleasure to have you here. And before
Thank
we
you, Dr.
begin,
Nagin.
before we begin today's panel discussion, and let me give you a brief instructions so that we'll complete it within a given time. So since we have 4 panel members to talk about this teaching English online, each of the member will be getting 10 minutes, or maybe will be given up 10 minutes, and make sure that we'll complete it within 10 minutes. And let me ask our dear participants, in case if you have any questions and queries, please write it down on a piece of paper, and all the members of panel will attempt your questions and clarifications at the end of the sessions. At the end of the session. Thank you so very much. And it's over to you, the panel. And let me begin with Muhammad Mohsin. Sir, you have 10 minutes of time. Make sure that, okay, you will finish it and conclude your views on, okay, and insights on teaching English online. Thank you, sir. It's over to you.
Thank you, sir. Highly learned and experienced panelists of this discussion, and Nagendra sir. I start my discussion with a very remarkable fact that was just recorded in News 18 10 days back. I would like to show it on the screen so that I can start my discussion in a proper way. So if I'm allowed to share my screen here, I can just start my discussion with a presentation that I have already prepared. Friends, as this workshop, as this panel discussion has a varied range of stakeholders or targeted groups of audience, wherein there are the students, I'm talking about the students of 10th and 12th. The other panelists will talk about the higher studies and in the areas where they deal. But right now I'm concerned about the students of class 10th and 12th, and what are the problems of teaching online English to these students. Sir, may I get the permission to share my screen here, because I'm not getting it blue. Shall I share it now?
Please, please.
It is not, the share button is not enabled. It is disabled, I suppose. Okay. Before I move to my presentation,
Muhammad Mohsin, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Can you just click on entire screen so that your PPT will be visible to all the members?
Yes, sir. It is there, but is it visible now?
No.
That's what I'm saying, sir, because that window is not enabled. The share button is not enabled. It is not
Muhammad Mohsin, just a minute.
Mohsin, please. Sorry for the interruption. I request you start it. You click on the share button first, then
yes, sir.
Then select share screen. Then
yes, sir. It is already now.
Yes. Then select entire screen.
Okay. Yes.
Now click on the window below.
It is now.
Now
yes,
it is enabled. Now please click on share.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Yes. Now, friends, what I was saying that I have tried to highlight one of the most important news that was recently reported. As I am dealing here with teaching English online at secondary and higher secondary level, so I'll directly move to that news. That will be that was actually a sensation among the educators at higher secondary and secondary level. As you can see on the screen, 92% kids lost language skills, 82% lost math. It's state of emergency in education. Friends, when I went through this news, actually it was there in the news August 15. Language skills, mainly when I talk about language skills, the target, the TLOs, we say teaching learning objectives at 10+2 level are different. Here, the students are more exposed to the basic skills, as we say L, S, R, and W. So when the classes are not online, when they are not in touch with the teachers, are we able to cater, are we able to harness, or are we able to sharpen their skills, language skills? Which, according to the recent survey, 92% of the kids have lost their language skills already. So in my presentation, in my discussion, I have tried to present some of the difficulties that the teaching English online faces these days. Now, when I talk of the students of 10th and 12th, as I can show you on the screen, the biggest challenge for the teachers teaching class 10th and 12th at all mediums, be it Hindi, Urdu, Tamil, Malayalam, any. When we talk of English teaching, we face a big difficulty in maintaining and developing writing skills in English among students. Because most of the work that is being going on online platforms, it is the speaking and the listening part. When it comes to the writing part, the children, the students of 10+2 level, they are unable to get their problem solved. They are unable to get their errors erased. They are unable to get their writing task evaluated properly. So that's why I say follow-up and error analysis of the written task is not being done. Or that was a difficulty earlier. I will come to the solutions later on, as the time is given only 10 minutes. So I have to hurry through. So the first difficulty, actually, I have not gone through the series of LSRW. I have tried to put in as per the difficulty level of the children. So basically, I've started with the writing part, because here the students are not given enough writing tasks. And even though if they write something on online education, it has become a difficult task for the teachers to evaluate those written part and make an error analysis. That was the first thing that I think is the difficulty that the teachers face, and even the student. The second thing that I have tried to put in is honing or developing speaking and reading skills in English. Now, when we talk of the students of school level, high school level and +2 level, there the students are in their formative age. The language skills are in the making. They are learning to speak. They are learning to read properly. So online platform, at some point of time, it catalyzes actually the needs of the children. But somewhere the limitations of the online platform doesn't let the teacher, it doesn't allow the teacher to correct the reading part and the speaking part of the child then and there, because there are so many limitations over there. Then the assessment of listening skill by the language teacher for the students of 10th and 12th is always a task which needs to be addressed. And it is almost the time of 16 or 17 months that this online teaching has been in practice. And in all these 16 and 17, the news that I shared in my first slide, it is after the 16 and 17 months of online teaching. So we can understand that what was the situation in the beginning when an online teaching was actually introduced or it was in practice. So assessment of listening skill is also one of the major concern that I suppose. Then vocabulary and grammar, it was always there, a kind of problem for the students and the teacher to address this even in the offline classes, that how to enhance their vocabulary and how to get acquainted with the grammatical rules and how to use them properly. So when we talk of the difficulties, at the same time, we have to talk of the solutions also. Now, I myself, I've been dealing with the students of 10th and 12th for last 13 years. So in these 16 and 17 months, initially, I was not able to cope with the needs of the children as per the online platform, online forums. But when I tried and tested some of the methods, I really came out with some surprising results. So for the audiences who are watching us online and those who are dealing with the students of 10th and 12th, they'll really find it out fruitful. Now, what was the first thing that I did was the use of Google Classroom, which is incorporated in Google Meet itself. This Google Classroom in online teaching gives you an option to correct the paper. That is actually first thing that all the teachers need to know, that for registering all the students on Google Classroom, you need to have the email IDs of all the children, and then only they can register themselves on Google Classroom. Once they are registered, there you can create assignments, you can send assignments to the children, you can submit it in time. There is always a provision, you can mark student late because the time can also be set for submitting an assignment. So once the assignment is submitted, it gives you an option to correct. You can literally use the red pen, as it is an app-based forum. So you can correct, you can give suggestion to the student there, and even the feedback in the form of error analysis can be given. I am sure there are multiple forums and platforms where this work can be done. But as far as my case is concerned, I have found that Google Classroom is the best forum where the children, they can submit their work can be evaluated and assessed, and it can be given with a fruitful feedback. Then the other thing for developing their writing skill or maintaining their writing skill, that it should not further, we can use the chat box or the Google Sheets in collaborative writing. As Google Sheets are created where all the students can give their inputs, or they can give their views. So all the students can write their views on the Google Sheet, and all of them can see what others have written. So in that way, I make assignment. I give a simple question. I give a simple situation, and all 40 students give their 40 responses in that Google Sheet. So roll number 1 to roll number 40, all of them can see at once that how this sentence can be written, how this situation can be written, how this question can be answered. So that way, collaborative writing can also be taken up with the help of Google Classroom. So I feel Google Classroom is a good form to develop the writing skill, and as well as help the student to get their errors analyzed. Then afterwards, when we talk of assessment of listening and speaking, we have a different project in CDSC. It is the part of internal assessment. It is called ASL, Assessment of Speaking and Listening. It is kept separately as a form of project. So for the practice of the final exams, what we do, that we attach the listening audios and with the Google form, and beforehand we provide them the worksheets. So when the students log into that Google form, they listen to the audio, and when the questions are there, they listen to the audio, and then and there only they answer the questions. So that way their listening skill is also assessed through Google Forms. It allows you to attach even video, audio, even the PDF can be attached there. So I'm very much sure that most of the teachers who are handling classes 10th and 12th might be using this platform, or might be using Google Forms effectively. And if we give periodic practice to the children for these kind of tasks, I'm sure that they can easily do the tasks. Then one thing that I myself have used, I practiced it in my daily classroom teaching, that I asked the students of 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th to read a paragraph from the textbook in their own voice, record it in their mobile, as the mobiles are readily available in everybody's home. So they can read and record it, and then they can ping it to me. They can send it on my email. They can send it on my WhatsApp. They can send it on Google Classroom. So that way I can listen to them. I can find out that which student is lacking in which part of reading, what is the area that can be developed, or what are the suggestions that can be given. So that is one of the practice that I have been taking up. Now the next thing that I say, that speaking in real time of class, one thing all we have to agree is that the teachers have more time to teach in online classes. In offline classes, there were some stumbling blocks, there were some hindrances and difficulties in between, where the teachers could not use their entire 40 minutes, as there are 40 minutes period in the school. So here, all 40 minutes, the teacher can mute the students. They can ask a particular student to talk. So speaking in real-time class also help us to assess the speaking of the speaking skills of the children. That is also one way. Another way that I also take in the form of subject enrichment activities, that the various exercises like conversations, debates, and extempore can be taken up in the real-time classroom teaching and online platform. That will help the students listen to others. They can give their own ideas and opinion about the topic. So in the process, it will help, and it will try to enable them to express themselves, even though they are not physically present in the class. So sometimes in the class, they may feel shy. Some children are timid. Sometimes they have a phobia in speaking in public. But when online platform, when we ask only a single child to speak, that time a child may open up and may talk and may speak. So that I use in my class, and I find it very useful, because a child who was not able to speak in the beginning of the session, repeatedly I'm taking his name, I'm asking him to speak and read. So real-time classroom teaching, when I'm taking up on online platform, the child is now ready to speak. Now, another area that I find teaching English online, when we
Muhammad
talk about...
Mohsin, I'm sorry to
Yes.
interrupt you. Yeah, will you please conclude your topic, because since we ran out
Yes,
of
sir.
time. Okay. Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
sir. So finally, I'm coming to the last part of my presentation. That is the most important part, I would say. Within 1 minute, I'm concluding, with your permission, Nagendra sir. Formative assessment in English. Teaching online English demands evaluation also. Evaluation in other subjects may be easy, but for English, it is difficult. So formative assessment, where we assess subject enrichment activities and periodic tests and unit tests. So that can also be assessed on various forums and platforms. And whereas summative assessment, when we talk of midterm exam and session ending exam, through Google Classroom, I find it very, very helpful. It is very, very teacher friendly as well as student friendly, where the learning outcomes, the assessment strategies can be executed very nicely. I thank the course organizer and the director for giving me an opportunity. I thank everyone present on virtual platform. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Over to you, Nagendra sir.
Thank you, sir. In case if we have any questions and clarifications, we'll come back to you. And meanwhile,
Thank you, sir.
let me give an opportunity to Dr. Santosh Mahapatra. Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, it's over to you. Please stick to the time. You have 10 minutes and make sure that, okay, we'll wind up within 10
Yes.
minutes. Yeah.
Yes. I'll be focusing on three things. You have given Mr. Mohsin has talked about nicely about classroom experience because he's a teacher, and I value his experience and will try to build on what he has talked about in his presentation. So I'll be focusing on three things here in this short kind of talk. First one will be I'll be focusing on preparedness of teachers or readiness of teachers to take up online teaching. Second will be access as a factor for teachers and learners. And the third one is coping strategies. To begin with, when we talk about online teaching, the first thing that immediately hits me, and the kind of research I have done till now, generally, because I focus on teachers, so I can talk about how teachers preparedness or readiness matters a lot. So generally what happens is whenever we talk about any policy decisions in India or elsewhere, and may not be able to talk about other countries, but generally in India, whenever we talk about policy implementations, we generally come up with policy, then think about teacher preparation. This is a kind of flaw that exists in policy implementation all throughout, and that has not really changed. It was the same thing that happened with CCE, which was the continuous comprehensive evaluation policy. Preparedness was lacking to a great extent. We had lessons to learn from other countries where policies were implemented before teachers were prepared, and teacher preparation started after the policy got implemented. We are a huge country, and there might be several problems, but that factor remains. That's a serious problem that we faced earlier, and I don't think we learned much from that kind of the problems we faced. We are still adhering to the same kind of a similar kind of plan where we have a policy, we move to online, we expect teachers to teach online, but did we prepare teachers well? This is a question I'm throwing at you. Think about it. And we don't have much of, I'm talking about higher education, mostly higher education, because I'm in higher education. I work with teachers in higher education. So teacher preparation was a problem. People slowly learned how to cope with this and all. But the approach was more to do more kind of tool-centric approach. Which tool works, and then bring in and look at your the kind of subject you are teaching and try to mold the tool so that it can cater to the requirement of the subject. But that has never worked. If you look at research on online teaching, it has always been you start with content, you start with your subject, you think about the needs that are there because of the online platform, because you are teaching online, because you will be dealing with students online. Then you think about the tools. It should not be tools first, subject next. It should be always subject first. Think about the subject, think about what you need, which skills you are teaching, and then think about the tools. But 99% of the times I go to webinars on digital tools or digital assessment or any such webinar or online teaching. Generally, we start with tools and then we think about subject. We don't talk about first what skills I'm teaching. So I was very happy with Mohsin sir's presentation because he started with, I'm talking about listening, I'm talking about speaking. That is why this tool might be useful. So that's the kind of approach we need in English. Think about the skill you are teaching, think about the sub skills you have in mind, then think about the tools that will help you. First, so second point I want to talk about is access. As a teacher, you may have access to tools, or you may not have access to certain tools. Some certain tools are paid tools. So good, generally good, very good, effective, like online tools, for example. We are talking about something like Google Classroom or Google Meet or something like that, because some of these tools are free, right? And they give us a lot of scope to play with and to do things because we have access to those tools. But think about more advanced tools, more effective tools, which are used by foreign universities, for example, Blackboard, which is very effective. I mean, Google Classroom or Google Meet or something like Microsoft Teams cannot compete with Blackboard. But Blackboard is a paid platform. You have to pay for it, and we may not have money to pay for Blackboard. So that becomes seriously problematic. Same way, when we think about tools, when we think about platforms, think about what we can do with what we have. And what we have means, as teachers, what we have, and as what our students have access to. For example, if you take up something like you take up an exercise where they are required to upload videos, they may not have that kind of data that you need to upload videos. So think about what kind of assignment you are giving, what kind of assessment you are conducting, what kind of teaching tools you are using. Can your students have access to all these tools you are thinking about? Can your students feel comfortable with those tools? Are they interested in those tools? Think about that access part a little bit. Think about that interest part a little bit. Access is very important because socio-culturally we belong to very kind of heterogeneous backgrounds. So thinking about people who do not have access to mobile phones, who do not have access to data policies, high-speed internet data policies. So keep those things in mind when you select tools or think about platforms. Whenever you're thinking about platforms, think about access. The last thing I'm going to talk about is coping strategies, coping with challenges. See, because I have been working on this area, so I had some familiarity when the pandemic spread in India, and I was in a way ready in the sense because I had some courses under my belt and I knew about it. I was researching, had some familiarity, but I had a lot of friends who didn't have that kind of familiarity and didn't have access. So they were struggling, and some of my foreign friends who didn't have access to software which I have access to in my privileged university. I have access to things like Grammarly, things like Turnitin, which are amazing tools for controlling plagiarism. But you cannot pay for premium versions of Grammarly or Turnitin in all universities. Most Indian universities do not give access to their teachers' individual accounts for Turnitin and Grammarly, which I have, let's say. So a lot of teachers were struggling how to control plagiarism. So I'm thinking about how do we cope with challenges. So we need to find, you need to be a little inquisitive. You need to search for tools that are freely available that you can use, or some people who can give access to those tools to you. So I help a lot of my friends, evaluating their students' thesis, master's thesis, and all. I ran them through Turnitin, got their reports ready, gave them, and try to help them. So this is what you can do when you are a teacher. You search for tools that are freely available, and you think that absolutely necessary. Search for those things. Maybe convince your institution to give you little scope, maybe one account for the entire institution or something like that. But I'm saying that coping strategies come with your inquisitiveness. You come to a forum like which I manage. We have around 5,000 teachers right now. It's called ELTI India on Facebook. ELTI India. So we have around 5,000 teachers, and which include ESL and EFL teachers and researchers from around the world. We share funding opportunities, workshops, conferences, and other details only for teacher development, nothing else, and no advertisements, no money, nothing. So those things, and you come join those forums. So that I'm just giving you one example because I'm familiar with this. You can join anything wherever you get opportunity. Get to know other people, talk to experts, people who are working, people who are researching, get more ideas from them, and then you will be in a better position to cope with this. This is not a kind of issue which you cannot overcome. You can, just that you need to be inquisitive. You need to think about your students. You need to think about us. You need to think about us as a community of English teachers. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Santosh Mahapatra, for being so precise and even clear. Thank you. And let me request Dr. Banu Pratap Preetham. Sir, it's over to you. And we sincerely request you to stick to the time. And you have 10 minutes, as I repeatedly say. Yeah. Thank you, sir. It's over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. Just let me know. Yeah, are you able to listen my screen? Yeah. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are audible and your slides are visible. Yeah, we are
Okay,
able to
okay.
see all the slides.
Right.
Go ahead.
Thank you again, Nagendra, and especially the organizer, Professor Sami Siddiqui, sir, for giving me this opportunity to discuss with you. Although I was not very much particular about the PowerPoint and all, but sir told me that if you can present, it's okay, otherwise fine. So I just prepared 2-3 slides, not more than that, just to have some idea about two aspects which I am going to deal here. One is English language teaching in school education, and the second part is English language teaching in teacher education institutions. These two aspects I'm going to deal with and ponder upon. And after that, I'm going to share my own experiences with my students whom I taught during last 9 years, especially the DLEd, BEd, and MEd students of Maulana Azad University. Since I dealt with English language to these students, so I have some first-hand experience with these students, and so I wanted to put those problems and concerns which usually Urdu-speaking students faced in my university, and similar is the case with state-funded schools also. Cases are same. So quickly, I'm running through this PowerPoint, then I'll go for discussion without PowerPoint. First is in Indian school education. In here, I'm talking since Mr. Mohsin already discussed about his experience in Kendriya Vidyalayas. So my concern in school education pertains to mainly the schools of MANUU and state-funded schools, not the Kendriya Vidyalaya, Navodaya Vidyalaya, or centrally funded schools like that. So ELT in school education, here I have posed here a concern that in Indian schools, English language is largely treated as a third or foreign languages. This is one of the biggest concerns, which I found in Indian school system, especially the state-funded schools. Then we don't have proper environmental support or the surroundings in which English language can be prospered and it can be flourished here. Uniform pedagogical practices in the classroom. This is also one of the concerns because we don't have uniform population, we don't have uniform types of students in the classroom, but we have uniform pedagogical practices in the classroom. And it poses great threat to especially English language learners in the classroom. Then we have like school unpreparedness for English language teaching. So school unpreparedness here means we have variety of students, and but on the other hand, we don't have variety of teachers to deal with variety of students. That is one of the greatest challenge which I think Indian school are facing these days. Less competent teacher, again, I don't mean to demean teachers, English language teachers in our school system, but less competent here means though these teachers are not well qualified in terms of teaching languages. So in that way, I am saying that less competent teachers, this is one of the biggest issues here. Then we have lack of student-centered study material. As I have already told you that we have variety of students, like we have excellent students, well-performing students, we had mediocre students, and we have slow learners as well. But when we look at the study materials or books or the text available for these students, we find again uniformity in terms of available study materials to these students. So that uniformity is again going to pose a greater threat to students, because students are not uniform in our classrooms. And finally, the underqualified and inadequate number of English teachers in India. Here, I mean to say that underqualified does not mean that less qualified also. Underqualified means they are not competent enough to teach English language, rather they are competent more in teaching English literature rather than language. This is one thing. And second is about the inadequate number of teachers. Like we have large number of schools where you don't find English teachers available there. Most of the state funded schools are equipped with social science teachers, languages teacher, and the regional languages teachers, basic science teachers. But when it comes to language teachers, especially English language teacher, their number is quite low compared to other teachers or as per the norms and standards of school education of particular states. So these are some of the biggest issues which I wanted to pose in terms of school education in India. Then the next aspect which I have prepared for is about the English language teaching in teacher education institutions. Firstly, I dealt with the school education system. Here I want to say that since I have taught DLED, BEd and MEd students, but since in MEd we don't have directly English language to teach to those students, so I'm specifically talking about DLED and BEd students. One of my surveys, which I may share in the later time, which I conducted for 4 years in Department of Education and Training, Maulana Azad University. And there I found that there is an inappropriate transaction from curriculum to syllabus of DLED and BEd. This is one of the issues. Here I'm talking about teacher education curriculum and the syllabus prepared by the concerned university. For example, if you look at the DLED syllabus of our university or maybe other universities as well, DLED syllabus is equipped with you can say hardcore linguistics, applied linguistics, and the core concept of language theories, etc. Whereas if you look at BEd syllabus, you will find simply LSRW, some part of literature, some part of languages, etc., and some of the methodological aspects. So if you look at the curriculum prescribed by National Council for Teacher Education and the curriculum syllabus which we transcribe from those curriculum, you will find there is a huge gap between these two, which exist not only in my university, Maulana Azad University, but across the states. I have seen syllabus of 4 or 5 central institutions as well as the state universities. So such kind of gap between curriculum and syllabus, and it again poses a great threat to English language teaching, especially at teacher education. Then we have higher education curriculum for English needs special reform here. Why I'm saying special reform? Because if you look at the curriculum of English, it is totally dominated by the literature aspect. Whereas if you look at the curriculum of DLED and BEd, you will find DLED and BEd curriculum for pedagogy of English is completely dominated by language. And language here means applied linguistics and pedagogy. So what you find, students are coming with a baggage of knowledge with literature, and they're supposed to deal with, they're supposed to learn the language aspects at pedagogical level in the BEd colleges and the DLED colleges. So they are not able to cope with these two differences, which they find what they have studied during their graduation and post-graduation and what they are supposed to learn here in the BEd curriculum and syllabus. Then we have pedagogical strategies. Here I found that there is a huge discrepancy in pedagogical strategies. Yeah.
Banu Pratap sir, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry to interrupt you. You just have a minute. I request you to conclude.
Just give me 1 minute of time.
Yeah.
Then pedagogical strategies. There is a discrepancy in pedagogical strategies. Here I want to focus more on a pedagogical strategies like to deal or to begin with the basic aspect of linguistics in BEd and DLED curriculum, then lead towards the applied linguistics, and then go towards the pedagogy of English language. then go towards the pedagogy of English language. So these are some of the aspects which I wanted to say. Then non-functional language lab, one of the biggest challenges or threats which we find in B.Ed and D.El.Ed institution, and which is threatening to produce the language teachers. This is one of the concern. And then definitely the lack of adequate master trainers for English language educators, teacher educators. These are some of the challenges which I wanted to share. And since all these challenges were already existing during the face-to-face mode of teaching, then it multiplied during this online teaching learning system, which we have been practicing for the last 1.5 years in India and across the globe. Some of the slides which I wanted to show you, but because of lack of time, I'm unable to do this. But one last sentence which I wanted to say, that lack of uniformity among students in terms of access to digital devices will lead to imbalanced production of knowledge. This is the concluding sentence which I wanted to say before you and before the panel. And the remaining part of discussion, we will go ahead when all the presentations are completed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for sticking to the time and completing within time. And next we have another senior teacher, Dr. Huma Yaqub. Ma'am, it's over to you.
And thanks the entire organizing team of this seminar from CPDUMT. And particularly, I would appreciate the way the seminar has been conducted since the last 2 days. And now I'm going to share my slides. Just let me know. Share the screen. Can someone help me out to share? Is my PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, your PPT is visible. Yeah, you just click on slide share.
Okay.
From the beginning and slide share.
Yes. So my entire screen is visible.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
And
please go
slides
ahead.
Okay. So a very warm appreciation for everyone who have been there, and the panel, everyone in the panel discussion. And particularly, I would agree with Dr. Santosh's point when he talks about the preparedness of the teachers. Okay, so this COVID, it came as a big challenge to all of us, and we had to reorient our lives in these turbulent times because of the COVID-19. Everything was affected, right from the way we are working, we are teaching, and the way we are commuting, and even the way we communicate, because now that socializing, that aspect of all of that is missing. So of course teaching is one of the aspects of our living that has got affected. And of course it took us by storm. The teaching fraternity, it was taken away by the storm. And then how we were totally unprepared for this kind of online teaching. And like teaching techniques and methods, they have also been evolving dynamically, and COVID-19 provided a unique opportunity to explore online teaching and learning. And but at the same time, it has raised the debate on the efficacy of online teaching of English over traditional classroom teaching methods, particularly for higher education. So, like when we are talking about the online teaching, certain platforms that were made available at the very beginning, and we all are very familiar with, for example, Google Meet and Zoom and Skype also. Later on, it became quite popular. So these platforms, and besides that, WebEx and Microsoft Teams and Google Meet, of course, this also provided us with other opportunities. For example, we were also able to handle our classrooms interactive sessions through the use of Google Classrooms and all. So there have been immense benefits of online teaching that we saw during these times, but I'm going to skip that and then directly come to the how these benefits they are, particularly in the area of higher education. Because what I found is that we often used to read many novels, many movies also were there, talking about apocalypse, and there was this like how this entire situation, this was unimaginable prior to this COVID times. Like till 2019 we were totally unaware that something like this will hit us, and we have to change our teaching methods. We have to come to the adopt the online methods and all of that. And particularly in the higher education sector, and teaching English and English language and literature, both I should say, there are although there are many benefits, but of course there are many challenges as well. And we as teaching community, teaching fraternity, we are trying to adapt with this, and how it has really changed the way we are engaging with our students. And as Dr. Santosh also talked about, that what is required is that we should first talk about our subject, and then only the tools come. Okay, so basically there is a fixed syllabus, particularly we have to cater to that in the higher education. If there is a particular syllabus, a particular number of novels or poetry or even drama, so all of that has to be covered. And of course this has to be the tools, the students have to be acquainted with these tools. The teacher too requires that amount of training, and then all of these things can come very handy to the teacher. And few of the online tools that can be used are, there are many apps which through which the teacher can conduct the polls or quizzes, and even upload videos and more. And initially I remember when I started taking classes, online classes, or rather even before the online conducting the online classes, when I was not very familiar with Google, and my students were with this Meet, Google Meet, and the students were living in very remote areas, and they told me that, ma'am, we are unable to have this, and will not be able to attend the classes like this. So I used to record my lectures. Like this went for 10 or 15 days in the month of March itself, or maybe the first week of April. Then slowly and gradually I motivated them to join this, and then they were able to really it came handy to them. So these are the things that how these challenges that we came across during this time. And so all of these things, how they help out the teacher, but of course they cannot replace the actual teaching. Of course the teacher has to conduct the classes, even online it is, as we are doing at this moment. But these apps, these learning apps, they cannot replace the teaching of the teacher. So they should be used, and the students can be asked to use all of these, but with precaution. That is how the students should be not too much exposed to all of these apps, but in an appropriate manner that they can do that. And these are certain applications and resources for online learning English, and like Coursera, Swayam, and then there is YouTube. Of course, there is this application of TED also, and the BBC Learning English in Merriam-Webster. So as you all are aware, Swayam are MOOCs, that is massive open online courses, and students can enroll and study their subjects, and it is having an easy access to them. And this will, of course, enable, particularly in the higher education sector, how it can enable them to be prepared for things, and they can really use these resources. And as already you all are aware, that SWAYAM was launched by the Government of India in 2017, and it offers courses from school to the post-graduation level. And even a thing like TED, this app has renowned speakers, and even the students, they can hone their skills. They can the communication skills and all, they can use these apps and really update their knowledge and practice their communication, and by listening to these things. Then there are these other applications or resources for interactive learning, like Slido and Kahoot and quizzes. Kahoot and quizzes, they are a live a quiz that can be conducted by the teacher. And there is Quizlet, there is Google Classroom, then of course the Google Forms as well. But I personally think that sometimes if you use Google Form for a test, it can lead sometimes to a little bit of anxiety on the part of the student, because sometimes the students are unable to upload a form on time. So that flexibility from the part of the teacher should be there, that such late submissions can be considered. And of course, Google Classroom already, that has been discussed by the two of the earlier speakers. How it is quite flexible and interactive as well, particularly in the higher education, where you have to submit long assignments and long answers. Okay, so the students can submit a particular assignment. The teacher can give particular comments to that, and likewise, even you can share the material, because during these times, as I was teaching these novels, so of course I could share the text with these. I had the access because I was a member of the British Council Library, and also I could download, and I could send the material to the students as well. Talking about the challenges and constraints of online teaching, there is, of course, one factor is the economic inequality that has been observed by the other panelists also, that there are students who are not having easy access to the new technology and to the new resources. And that is why this economic disparity, it leads to the uneven access of resources. And then there is this unstable internet connection. This also poses a major challenge. And one more challenge I find is in the aspect of monitoring the attention and participation of the students in the class. And of course, it is herein that these tools that we talked about, maybe, for example, even I gave sometimes a few small clippings can be shown, or maybe the students can be continuously, they can be engaged in the class. And particularly I found that poetry is, because usually people think that poetry is difficult to engage with in an online class. But I found that poetry, because of the mere, the body of the text is not that long. Otherwise, dealing with a novel and all can become a little tiring and troubling. But like a poetic text, it is more engaging, and certain ideas which were not easily translatable by the teacher to the student, now they have become all the more easier, because when people are living in isolation and how they are alienated with society, so to teach T.S. Eliot becomes much more easier than it was in the previous times. Okay, and of course, the next major aspect is the evaluation and the performance of these
Dr.
students.
Humayako,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like, we are running out of time. I request you to conclude it.
Okay. So these were the various challenges that I was discussing. Maybe one more challenge that is how the students, they are not having a room of their own. Okay, a room of one's own. That is, I'm taking out the phrase from Virginia Woolf, and that is how what is happening is that students, they are living where there might be the conditions, there might be noise, they are the room is crammed up or some other problem, and so they have to like bear with all of these, and that is why and besides that, they are missing the real ambience of the university. The university, higher institutions are the great levelers, so to say, wherein all students, they get all the opportunities and they get exposure and to all the facilities, which is not there in the online teaching. So students are unable to fully utilize and explore the facilities provided by the libraries of their universities and colleges, and reading reference books is an integral part of higher education. And these are some of the points through which how these challenges can be overcome. And like focus should be to make online teaching accessible to everyone, and to spread awareness regarding this, and inclusion of more interactive content, and enhancing the SLRW skills, and students how they can be made to interact in the class. And of course, we have to embrace online teaching as this is the new normal. So finally, we don't need to stay away from it, but rather this is something which is going to stay, and that is why we have to embrace this online teaching as the new normal. And even I think that we should curtail a little the classes of the time, as was said earlier, that how for example, the students in the universities, they have so many courses, so sitting on end from morning till evening, that becomes really tiring for the students. And I end with this quote from Bill Gates, that technology is just a tool. In terms of getting the kids working together and motivating them, the teacher is the most important. So the role of the teacher remains whether online or offline. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, ma'am, for briefing it up. I thank all the panel members for being very precise and clear, and sticking to the time, and completing within given time. And now let us attempt a few questions and even clarifications from participants' side. In Jamal, do we have any questions and clarifications from participants' end?
This was earlier question.
Okay. Well, we have a few questions and clarifications from participants' end. Let me begin with a question Adab Ara, I guess. Okay. How can we improve our English speaking fluently? I mean, how can we improve our spoken communication, or maybe how can we speak fluently? Can you just give some tips? Any member of the panel can take and attempt this question. It's a very general question. Maybe you can connect with even this online. One of the participants asked that question. It's a very general question. Yes, Dr. Santosh Mahapatra seems to be very... Yes, sir, Banu. Santosh.
Yeah. Okay, Nagendra and I, we were friends back in IFLU. So, okay. So, there are several ways you can improve your proficiency, because you didn't talk, the person who was asked didn't talk about what, communication means. I'm talking about spoken proficiency or written. You're not mentioned, so I'll go general, but I'll focus on spoken part. Maybe you mean speaking. So if you want to improve speaking and you don't have access to people around, not many people, you are not talking to many people in English around you. So one of the better ways, because I learned my English at IFLU. I didn't have English medium schooling or as such education. I came to IFLU, I saw that there was this shopkeeper called Sagar, who is still there. He spoke brilliant English. He spoke better English than anybody else. So I thought that was my inspiration. So what I did, I started speaking to people who spoke good English. Fortunately, at IFLU, I had access. If you don't have access to people who speak good English, you need people who speak good English to learn to learn to speak good English. So what you can do is to expose yourself to a lot of English by listening to things like some earlier ma'am mentioned, let's say TED Talks, BBC Flatmates, which has like 184 episodes of conversation, a lot of conversations. So that will help you a lot. And there are other ways of improving your spoken skill by listening to chat shows, by listening to movies. So one-sided conversation may not help much. I would suggest going for movies and going for somewhere where you are not really focusing on improving your skills. You are focusing on enjoying the content. In the process, you will learn faster. But if you explicitly focus on learning and improving your speaking, it will take a lot of time. I think it becomes painful. It becomes difficult. It'll be much easier if you enjoy your movies, enjoy your songs. You are going for a walk and listening to talks and chat shows or songs and walking, jogging, all that thing you are doing, but enjoying, not really thinking about learning English. That will improve your vocabulary and also English. And if you have people around who speak good English, that's the best way. There is no replacement for that.
Thank you, Santosh, especially for giving such a beautiful example from Sagar's shop, because we all knew that, okay, how you picked up English, like the way he spoke, he usually speak, okay, very fluently. Thank you so very much. And let me just hear from Dr. Banu Pratap and Preetham. Yeah, sir, can you just brief? Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure. Nagend, can you let me know the name of the students who asked this question here?
I think this is Adab Ara, I guess, if I'm not
Adab
wrong.
Ara.
Yeah.
This is one of the most frequent questions which I received during my B.Ed classroom, especially when I taught this communicative English classes there. And my typical answer used to be initially that I'm not a good learner and of Urdu language. Just let me know what are the strategies I should follow to learn Urdu language, because you are master in Urdu language, and right now I'm student before you. And then students used to respond so beautifully how to make environment, how to create environment for Urdu language, how to pick up the words, how to pick up the sentences like that. So I think there is a self-taught process of learning language. And to begin with, I think the reply would be to the students that you just devise your own course, your own strategies, the way you suggest somebody else how to speak better Urdu language. So to begin with, this can be one of the better strategies. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for making it very clear and for saying it very brief. Thank you so very much. There is another question from Ansari Shagufta, and she said that, like, repeatedly students do come late and they do join late, and okay, that brings a very boredom, like while attending online English language classes, whether it is language or literature, online classes especially. So that will certainly, okay, disturb both teacher and as well as even a student. So what do you say? Like a student is really concerned about that, okay, like to avoid this disturbance, okay, to repeatedly coming and joining late, okay, and disturbing the entire class. So I request Dr. Huma Yaqub to say something about, or maybe give some inputs on it, like in order to avoid all these disturbances.
Yes, students, because this is the task of the teacher to discipline the students. So the students, those students who particularly disturb the entire class and they are regular attention diverted to them if they are doing so. So they can be made to write an extra assignment or something, and instead of directly speaking harshly to them. So because what happens is, particularly the students who are grown up, who are not in school, what happens is that if you scold them or if you speak harshly to them, they become all the more aggressive. So my take would be to rather start giving them extra attention and ask something to be the monitor of the class, to to be the first one to come. So yes, Dr. Mohsin also wants to add to that.
Yeah, Dr. Mohsin is Mr. Mohsin is the right person, okay, to comment on it. Yes, it's over
Yes.
to you, sir. Yeah.
Yes, actually, I just wanted to know that the teacher who's actually taking the class on Google Meet or any platform, if he joins with two devices, if he joins with laptop as well as mobile, he need not to interrupt his teaching. He can allow and admit students from one device, which he can keep just side by side. So he can continue and keep on teaching, and on the other device, he can allow and admit the students in the class. So if the inquirer, the one who has inquired or who want to know the answer to this question, if he is more concerned about the continuity of the teaching, so that is the one way that I do. That I do join my class with the laptop as well as on my mobile. If I am presenting my screen from the laptop, then I can admit the students from my mobile. The one thing that we can do, that with the same email ID you can join the class on both the devices. So if you want your class to go uninterrupted, and at the same time the students to join the class without discontinuing your teaching flow, that is the way that I usually follow. And if the same thing the question is about, then I hope I'm clear about it.
Sir, there is another question for you from Rashid Thakur, and he said that writing and reading skills are completely neglected through online teaching English language. So, what do you say? What is your stand on it?
Is it for me, sir?
Yes, it's for you only.
Yeah, writing and reading. See,
Yeah.
as I rightly mentioned in my presentation itself, that writing is the only part that has been largely neglected these days in the online platform. So for writing assignment, what I have done myself, my own first-hand experience, or I should say that it was an action research that I took up in my class. The students, they didn't submit their assignment on Google Classroom, they didn't turn up their assignment on WhatsApp also. So what I did in my live class, I just opened a Google sheet, that for a collaborative worksheet writing skill. I just posed a sentence and I wanted them to complete it, a whole paragraph. Like each one I asked right in the live class to write a sentence in that. So they can open that Google sheet there and there only, and they can write there. That was the one thing. And the second thing, to improve their writing skill, what I suppose the best way to improve the writing skill on online platform is to give them writing tasks which they want to write upon. Similarly, if you think that they want to write something about the exercises and the question answers, they won't write. The ample material is available. They are just making a PDF out of it and they are sending it on Google Classroom. So what I suppose, just for developing and making the writing skills work in the learning environment, the assignment should be directly taken up in the live class. Then only they'll be doing it. Otherwise, they'll just dodge that question and will move to something else. And as far as reading is concerned, it's a very good chance to develop it on online platform, because it allows you to take a student's name, let others not speak in between, let the student write. What I do in my class, in class 12th I'm talking about, I take the first paragraph of the lesson and I say, until a child doesn't make a mistake in pronunciation or articulating a sound of a word, he's allowed to read the lesson. So that student, I start from A, B, C, like that. All the participants or the students can be seen in the attendance. So if a child reads a sentence and if he reads correctly throughout the paragraph, then he can read it continuously. And if he commits a mistake, I ask him to stop and I ask the other student to join from there. So that way they can listen to others what they are reading, how they are articulating that particular word and how they are pronunciating it. So this is what I personally use it. So maybe it is useful for others also.
Thank you so very much, sir, for making it clear. One last question I have for all the panel members, because since we have all panel members from different areas, like let us say that Dr. Huma Yaqub is from literature, and Dr. Santosh Mahapatra is from technical background, and Muhammad Mohsin is from school background, and Dr. Banu Pratap Pritam is from training side. So I would love to hear from you that, okay, like since we have most of the Indian classrooms are like mixed ability classrooms. So do you see any change like while teaching English through online? Uh, it's, I know that, okay, it's one of the challenging tasks for all the teachers to handle like mixed ability classes. So what are the practical challenges and concerns, okay, you faced? Like how did you handle, okay? that problem. So first, let me hear from Dr. Santosh, maybe because most of the technical students, okay, do engineering students especially, they come from different backgrounds, and like we always will have, okay, this mixed ability groups. So Dr. Santosh, it's over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think see, there are several things that you can do. I think it's slightly more challenging than face-to-face classrooms in the sense you can't see them on screen, because if you ask all of them to turn on their video and attend classes, that will not support the kind of bandwidth they have in their mobile phones. Most of them have weak internet connections, especially people who come from socio-culturally backward backgrounds or financially backward backgrounds who can't afford high speed broadband connections. For them it's really really challenging. So what I do is I don't push them to turn on their video. I let them to keep their videos turned off, no issues with that. But I use a lot of polling tools. Polling tools means, for example, Mentimeter or Poll Anywhere, that kind of tools. Mentimeter especially I use regularly, or polling tools that are there on Google Meet. We have a business edition where there is a Google Meet has polling tools. So I have the polls or the quizzes ready on my laptop. I just cut and paste them sometimes, or I use them. I use a Mentimeter already prepared by me, and I share with students. They respond. So those things you can do regularly. Have more quizzes, have more Google Forms, for example. You can create Google Forms. Immediately get their responses and show their own responses on screen. You can share your screen. Mentimeter is perhaps it works better than any other platform. For me, it works really, really well. So use quiz platforms, use polling tools to keep them active. There is no other way of doing it because people come from so very different backgrounds. You cannot prioritize a group over another. It's unfair. You cannot say that because 20%, 30% or 50% of the people have access to high speed internet, that's why I will use a tool which requires high speed internet connection, which means all of you turn on your video, show me your face and talk. That's very unfair. And I don't think that we should do that. We should let people keep their videos turned off if they want. There is no issue. Use as many polling tools or quizzing tools as possible so that they get involved. They respond to you, but stay in the background. Even I know there are shortcomings of this.
Dr. Santosh, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like my question was like, how do you handle both? Okay, like mixed ability clause. Like suppose
Yeah,
sometimes.
I say that there are people who speak, who come forward, who participate. There are people who do not participate. So I won't push anybody to do that because I realize that people who do not participate also learn, right? In some classes, you just keep quiet, you don't want to speak. Still, you learn something. So I would use tools which will engage them as much as I can and expect them that they're engaged. Sometimes I will take names, but it's very difficult because I don't know my students at all. I have not seen their faces. In engineering course, they disappear almost, right? In some time, 1 year, next year, they're not there with you. It's very difficult. It's challenging, but this is how you can do. And there is no other strategy as such. I've not found anything more useful than this.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Santosh, for giving your valuable inputs. And let me hear from Dr. Banu Pratap and Preetham. Sir, like, do you see any change when you train your trainee teachers? Because offline or maybe in-person classrooms are completely different, okay, when you teach English language through online. So did you see a major change, okay, when you switch over to all of a sudden, okay, from offline to online? Like
Yeah,
while training your trainee students.
yes, right. In my case, since I'm dealing with B.Ed students, and more specifically those B.Ed students who opted for pedagogy of English courses, and they are very limited in number. So we don't have problems like discipline or classroom management, etc. But I already have told you during my presentation that the students who are coming to these colleges of teacher education and department of teacher education in MANUU and in the state funded universities department of education, mostly they are from the underprivileged background. Underprivileged does not mean the social like that. Largely the economically, maybe the orientation like rural background students. Maybe those those students who left all the courses after +2 and came for this B.Ed courses like that. Yeah. So in that way, I'm terming them as underprivileged students like that. So these students are already having problems with coping with the English language. Yeah. And not only in my classroom of B.Ed and DLEd, but before coming to my classroom, wherever they did their +2 intermediate from, or wherever they did their graduation, undergraduation from, they had already similar kind of problem to cope with English language during face-to-face classes. Now it got multiplied here when they entered into this teacher education institution, especially in during last 1.5 year. They didn't see the face of their teacher face to face. They didn't interact with the teacher. They didn't discuss with the teacher regarding how to deal with the language aspect, especially for those students who are coming from literature background. So I'm again and again, I think I'm emphasizing, and Huma madam might be thinking that he is negative towards this literature. But since I have faced this problem, and I have been a student of CFL also, and I'm trained to deal with the applied linguistics and pedagogical aspect. Therefore, I'm saying that I don't find much change, because students were already less interested in teaching learning through English language, even during face to face. And when they got such kind of situation like online teaching, it got multiplied. So in my case, I think it is very, very deteriorating condition when it comes to online teaching learning through any platform. I mostly use the Zoom and Google Meet, and I'm very much comfortable. My students are comfortable with that. Yeah. So as far
Thank
as
you.
platforms are concerned, I think these platforms are okay. We can deal with, we can manage those. But problems comes with the background and baggages students are coming with in the B.Ed colleges or Department of Education.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for sharing your
Thank you.
experience. And this
Thank
is
you.
going to be a last question. This is to question is to Dr. Humayakub. Ma'am, like teaching English literature through online is a bane or boon? I just want you to just be precise and brief.
It is somewhere in between. It is, of course, somehow or the other, the teachers have managed to teach literature. There have been options of downloading books. Even teachers are sharing on the screen also, and sending material through Google Classroom and all. So I think this is a situation, the pandemic that we are in. Somehow or the other, things have to go on. And I think, like any other subject or any other language, English too is trying to strive through. The English teachers, they are moving forward, and we are full of enthusiasm. We have already embraced, as the Bhanu sir was saying, that we have already embraced. We are quite comfortable with the Google Meet platform. Many also started doing their night shift on Google Meet. And somehow sometimes you feel frustrated, but there are things that we need to work on. Even I think even the teachers need to have workshops regarding what are the suitable apps that the teachers can use with the students.
Right, right.
So definitely, this is here to stay, this online teaching mode. And I think we are going to overcome the challenges, and in future this is going to be a boon.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much. So, since we ran out of time, and let me just conclude and wind up. And thank you so very much for all the panel members for sparing your valuable time and sharing your experiences and even giving your inputs on teaching English online. Thank you so very much for all of you. I wish you,
Thank you, Nagendra, and thank you, Professor Shami, for giving me this
Thank
opportunity.
you.
yeah, please
Thanks
do take care
everyone.
and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
स्टार्ट कर ठीक है जी Respected chairperson, paper presenters, and participants, very good evening to all of you. I am Dr. Shah Alam, an English guest faculty in Directorate of Distance Education, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. On behalf of Center for Professional Development of Urdu Medium Teachers, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, I feel privileged to welcome you for our two-day national seminar on teaching English online. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Said Ainul Hassan Saab, and Registrar in Charge, Professor Siddiqui Muhammad Mahmood Saib, for granting us permission to organize such a program of high repute. We have 5 paper presenters in this session. Before heading towards the paper presenters, I would like to thank Dr. P. Sharat Chandra sir, the chairperson of the session, for accepting our invitation. I would like to give a brief introduction of Dr. P. Sharat Chandra sir. He's working as an assistant professor of English in Polytechnic, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad, since 2008. He is an academic counselor for MA English first year MANUU from 2019. He worked as English lecturer at Adi Kavi Nanya University, Rajahmundry from 2007 to 2008. He imparted English communication skills and soft skills for MCA MANUU. He designed English communication skills syllabus for MCA and BTech courses MANUU. He is resource person for UGC Net Coaching Center, Maulana Azad National Urdu University. He is resource person for remedial coaching in English language teaching for MA English for MA Maulana Azad National Urdu University. He is a resource person for postgraduate diploma in communicative English, Center for Distance and Virtual Learning, University of Hyderabad since 2009. He has 2 books to his credit. He published 8 papers in national and international refereed journals. He has presented numerous research papers in national and international seminars and conferences. Sir has delivered 13 lectures and talks at various colleges and universities. He designed new curricula and courses for various institutions. He holds membership in numerous professional bodies. Sir, thank you so very much for being with us. And uh, chairperson and paper presenters in the session are an invaluable resources. I am sure through their amazing content, the paper presenters will drive a real engagement with the participants. I don't want to stand for long between the paper presenters and the participants. So uh, I think we have 5 papers in this session, and keeping the paucity of time in mind, I request all the paper presenters, please finish your paper within 5 to 6 minutes, around 7 minutes. So the first paper presenter is Ms. Madhvi Bolla from Usmania University. So, madam, I request you please start your paper. She haven't joined yet. Oh, so I think because of some connectivity issues, she couldn't join the session. And now our second paper presenter is Ms. Sabah Parveen from Aligarh Muslim University. And the title of her paper is Relevance of Online Pedagogy, the Case of Teaching English at Senior Secondary Level. So, madam, over to you. Could you hear me? Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, please.
Good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the team of CPDUMT MANUU for giving me this opportunity and congratulate the team for the successful conduction of this webinar. The topic of my presentation is Relevance of Online Pedagogy, the Case of Teaching English at Senior Secondary Level. COVID-19 has forced schools, colleges, and universities across the globe to suspend face-to-face teaching to avoid any spread of coronavirus at the mass level. They have left no option but to transit to online classes. This transition of online teaching and learning has become challenging for most of the academic institutions in the world. With this sudden shift away from the classroom in many parts of the world, some are wondering whether the adoption of online learning will continue to persist post-pandemic and how such a shift would impact the learning process in the future. First point is online pedagogy and face-to-face learning. Online teaching requires a different set of competencies than face-to-face teaching. It gives an opportunity to make teaching more innovative and time-intensive. Indeed, through its various ways, online teaching bridges the gap between students and teachers in this time of crisis. It is a wonderful initiative that offers an opportunity to teach online and mark a place in this era of digital divide. In today's time, where the emphasis is already on digitalization, pandemic made it mandatory in the field of education. In online pedagogy, a teacher plays the role of facilitators and delivers education by using technology and digital medium of communication. Face-to-face teaching itself is a great approach to teaching because it provides a real-life situation to teach, but online teaching is the need of post-pandemic situation. Although online teaching cannot replace face-to-face teaching, it has many advantages. It is an approach that is learner-centered and provides an environment where the learner can perform more interactively. It is innovative in nature and uses new teaching techniques and methodology from time to time. The next point is National Education Policy 2020 and UGC norm regarding online pedagogy. National Education Policy launched in 2020 is a revolutionary change in education policy, which indicates the importance of technology in education. Section 23 of the NEP titled Technology Use and Integration reveals the role of technology in the education sector. It is a great initiative by Indian policymakers which will increase the digital skills of both teachers and learners. Introducing such technology-related changes at the time of pandemic is a significant effort that will enlighten the path of education for future generations. The policy also looks toward the creation of digital content, development of digital infrastructure, and capacity building to supervise the e-learning needs of both school and higher education. The policy has also been concerned about the practicalities of uses of technology, its availability, issues faced by learners, and geographical conditions. It envisages the use of technology in remote areas and focusing on the equal distribution of digital infrastructure in the rural and urban areas. University Grant Commission is a statutory body of the Government of India which is responsible for coordination, determination, and maintenance of standards of higher education. UGC keeps on changing its norm from time to time according to the circumstances. Situations that occurred due to the pandemic are the pertinent reason behind the implementation of blended learning in the new curriculum of the school and higher education. Blended learning is a mixture of physical classroom activities and learning activities supported by online technology. Activities in both modes are well planned and developed by considering the outcome of the course. In its concept note on blended learning, UGC recommended that up to 40% of a course will be taught online and the rest 60% will be delivered through an offline mode. These changes, which appeared in the UGC norm, provide more flexibility to the learner-centered approach and are an indication that inclusion of technology into education not just legitimizes but also celebrates the use of technology in teaching students. The third point is teaching English online issues and advantages. Pandemic has been affected the classroom teaching badly, and it was the need of the hour that children should take extra care. To achieve academic continuity at this time of critical juncture, government and higher education took decisions to continue the classes on online mode. But taking the decision was not an easy task, especially when we are talking about the senior secondary level and teaching English via virtual mode. Teaching English online is a challenging task as it involves technological skills, online teaching platforms, and interactive sessions. There is a wide gap between online teaching of a paper related to a specific discipline and teaching English online. Teaching a language online involves teaching four skills, namely listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Teaching, practicing, and assessing the four skills during online classes are a major concern. Reading, listening, and speaking are easily done by the students, but teaching the writing skill is the most difficult one. In face-to-face teaching, one can rely on verbal and non-verbal gesture, but in teaching English online, it is challenging. In online classes, technical glitches are always a big issue, so one should always be aware of this type of situation and know how to tackle these issues. Besides many issues, online teaching has been recommended by educational bodies. Online teaching is an innovation in English language pedagogy. It replaces the traditional approach of teaching language, and the addition of digital resources to the curriculum of English courses will add a new dimension to the language pedagogy. Teaching English online empowers the students of senior secondary level as it emphasizes interactive sessions between students and facilitators and encourages them to ask questions. Online teaching of English has proved to be a boon for students living in remote areas. In such areas where there are no such schools that have equipped faculty to teach English, at these remote areas, students are getting informative content, as this content are easily available on various sites developed by Government of India for e-learning. One challenge that is effectively overcome by virtual classes is handling the big class size. Class size is a general problem of language teaching classroom. Reaching every student is not possible, and it takes a lot of extra effort and energy to engage such a big size class at the same time. But
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you. Actually, we are running short of time, so please sum up in 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, sure. Resources, I will discuss the resources. There are plenty of programs and senior secondary level which are provided by the government. Pragyata is guidelines for digital education released by MHRD India. It includes 8 steps of digital learning, and the government took necessary measures to overcome the situation of lockdown, and through the national campaign Digital India Movement introduced the e-Vidya campaign to unify all efforts related to digital, online and on-air education. This includes Diksha, that is One Nation digital platform. The extensive use of Diksha across the nation has resulted in Diksha app emerging as one of the top education apps on Google App Store. Swayam, that is under Swayam program, NCERT has launched 34 online courses for students from classes 9 to 12 and on teachers. The Swayam and NIOS offers 18 MOOCs courses at senior secondary level and 20 courses at senior secondary level. CBSE Shiksha Vani podcast is an audio-based learning initiative of CBSE and is available via Android App Store. The podcast covers various subjects of senior secondary level and are available in English and Hindi. Relevance and effectiveness. Effective online pedagogy emphasizes student-centered learning and employs active learning activities at the senior secondary level. It provides an interactive learning environment between learner and facilitator. It is more flexible and is free from a strict schedule and easy accessible to those who are living in remote areas. It is an innovation in the field of education. Exploring new methodology of teaching and assessment makes it more inclusive. Students of senior secondary school find it more interesting because it involves activity-based learning and situation-based learning. Plenty of sites are freely accessible, and its content are distributed free of cost. At the senior secondary level, it enhances self-reading and direct learning skills in students. Situation-based teaching enhances group discussion and dialogue delivery through the drilling of situational sentences. Enhancing the writing skill online is a problematic one, but the practice of writing skills, reports, do's and don'ts, possible starting, possible ending, are some necessary measures that can be applied at this level so that students' writing skills don't get affected by this mode of teaching. Online pedagogy brought innovation in the traditional mode of teaching English. It will increase learning skills, greater and free access to information, and provide results in a form of the possible outcome. With these gifts of technology in the field of education, we should not forget the famous quote by David Wong: "New technology is not good or evil in and of itself. It's all about how people choose to use it." Because we need technology to expand the limits of our education system and to reach a wider audience from the urban and rural population. Therefore, necessary physical infrastructure must be developed by the government. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. She was Miss Sabah Parveen from Aligarh Muslim University. She was presenting her paper. And now I would like to call upon Miss Naseem Bano K from Bagalkot. The title of her paper is Using ICT in Teaching English Language. Ma'am, please conclude your paper in 5 minutes. We are running short of time, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am, now.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Please go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Okay. So, first of all, I want to start my paper. I will take a very short period. And
Okay, thank you.
I'm start my first Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm very thankful that you give me opportunity. I want to share PPT, sir. PPT presentations.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, please.
Yes, yes. Sir, hello.
Yes, ma'am. It's not visible, ma'am.
It's not visible, sir. 1 second, sir.
Yeah, please share screen, ma'am. There will be a
Yeah,
share button.
here this one, sir. Share screen like that.
Yes, ma'am.
This one, first one. No?
Please share entire screen, ma'am.
Okay, sir. It is? No, no, no. I think it's not
Not
yet.
yet. मैम एंटायर स्क्रीन के नीचे एक स्क्रीन है, वहाँ पे क्लिक कीजिए पहले, प्लीज क्लिक
Where,
देयर,
sir?
या फिर शेयर का बटन ब्लू ब्लू हो गया तो वहाँ पे क्लिक कीजिए मैम.
It is not getting like that, sir. Here I get the option select window or screen like that.
Okay, ma'am, you can go ahead with this. Not required.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it? My
You
PPT
can
is
go without.
presented, sir.
You can go without PPT, ma'am. You
Okay.
can start, ma'am, without PPT.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, because we are getting late.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please finish in
So
5
here,
minutes.
yeah, yes, yes. So here, that as we know that we become many of the teachers. I want to start with the direct points because many of the teachers are highlighted on that only. So I want to share my experience that I am also a teacher. But my topic is that which tools and apps are available to teach English online. I'm very glad to tell that here actually this pandemic period make the teacher as a techie because we are able to use. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, am I audible?
Uh, Sometime it's disturbing, I think, because of connectivity issues.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
And-
I think there's. I think there's network issue, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. Some connectivity issues.
Can we go to the next speaker so that she can come back? Yeah, you can tell her. Let her be prepared. Next session. Next.
next presenter को आप
Yeah, this is better.
So she was Miss
Hello,
Naseem
sir.
Bano. Ma'am, I think there's a network
Okay.
issue. Yeah, please go ahead, ma'am.
Yes.
Now you can share the screen now, ma'am.
I'm audible. I'm audible, sir. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're audible now.
Yes.
Please continue, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. Okay, sir. Yes, yes. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
I'm audible, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I think this is an internet problem. I think.
Ma'am, you can present without PPT.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm audible,
Please,
sir?
yeah, please present your paper without PPT, ma'am.
Hello? Are you getting my voice? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, sir? Yes.
You are audible, ma'am.
I think I'm audible. Yeah. So sorry for the inconvenience. So let me short. It is a free for. Hello. Hello,
Yes,
sir.
yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry. So as that we know, in this pandemic period, we have many teachers are not well enough knowledge about this online teachings, and we think that initially we got the Teachment app, Google Meet, and we get the many more Google Classroom like that as a options for the teachers as a drop of knowledge for us to teach online. But in a modern technology, in this modern pandemic era, they make the teacher as a techie, so we must be aware of the things nowadays. It is a challenge for teacher because if we are not update ourselves, we become outdated. And here one thing I remember the quotation of Rabindranath Tagore, that we must dare, one who dare to teach never cease to learn. So here we should have plenty of free online apps that I want to introduce. Actually, I had a very nice PPT of aiming that 50 to 55 that apps are there. So directly I will tell that how we are going to use it. So here we got the first Canva. It is a name of an app. It helps us very much in giving knowledge to the students, and we can present PowerPoints on that. And another one is that Ed plus puzzle. Puzzle means education puzzle like that. And it is also another free app for us to create an interactive videos on that. We can teach online freely. Then we next another have the Starfall app, and it is a tool. It is a free of cost, and we can use it for especially for developing the skill of speaking and writing. And here we give here stress on reading assignments we can give through this app. And apart from that, we have got plenty of that apps, many of the paper presenters, even that many here people they have presented very nicely, but they have taken all the materials because my number is the last one, but even then I highlighted some new things on that. Another important tool is that Nearpod. It is a very free tool. Here what is the use of this one, that it helps to use the multimedia lessons, that we can use the audio and
Ma'am,
video. We can teach the
ma'am,
students. Yes, sir, please.
sorry to interrupt you. You had 2 minutes to finish your paper, ma'am.
Okay.
Please summarize in 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yes. See here, if we as a teacher, if you want to teach student really in this pandemic era, means that we should go through these online apps. And I tell you that there are many apps are there. You just go to the Google and Play Store, you find out. Even I give a very highlight on that Google Meet and that Zoom app. Many people are told about that, but I wanted to tell about the Teachment app, and it is very handy. And here we can teach the students thousands together. And on a Google Meet, we can teach only 100 students, and we can share our audios and videos. Apart from that, we have got Teachers Kit and Okaro, another Spark Post, and we get Flickr, Google Forms. Kahoot is also very important. Apart from this app, I wanted to tell you about those apps which are help the teachers to publish their books also online, and we can give the students homework. We can check their home tasks, and it is one of the, I really thanks to that this pandemic era, because it make us as a techie. It helps the teachers to get the knowledge of technology and how to use it, the projectors and the computers and all. And one thing I wanted to share my personal experience, and I want to wind up my speech, that I'm living at Bijapur, in Karnataka district, state, and that is my working as Bagalkot. I'm as a subject inspector teaching English, but I'm working as basically teacher also. This pandemic year, last year and before last year, I get a chance to connect with many teachers. We get a platform there, we discuss the problems, and I assure that this help teacher very much. We come together with the teachers living far away from our places. We come together, we talk together, we solve our problems. And one thing is that I meet thousands together students online. I taught them grammar and all the things. So thank you that you give me an opportunity to talk before you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
And we were listening the paper of Miss Naseem Bano from Bagalkot. Now I would like to request Ms. Sheikh Aisha Siddiqa Rahim to present her paper. The title of her paper is English Knowledge in Learning Process. Over to you, ma'am. Please start. And ma'am, you know that we are running short of time. Please try to finish your paper within 5 minutes. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, sir.
Walaikum salam.
Hmm. Very good
Ma'am,
evening to all.
will you
Respected
share your
chairman.
PPT, ma'am? Will
Yes,
you
sir.
share your PPT?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, please.
All respected chairman of this session, chief guest, organization committee, and participant of this 2 days national seminar, online English teaching. Today, title of my research paper is Importance of English Language, English Knowledge, and Online Learning Process. Introduction. Second. English is a global language, and nowadays it has become a inseparable part of the teaching and learning process. English is important as it increases the chance of the getting jobs in multinational companies. Its knowledge is important at the national community, media, and for socialization and entertainment purpose. As we know, learning second language is a complex phenomenon, but if we get more explosion and practice, we get the more language learning take place and complexity become feasible. English has been played the main part of the several sectors including medicines, engineering and education. English is a vital language for all kinds of personhood. First of all, English is a third widely spoken language. English is a widely spoken and taught in over 118 countries and it is commonly used around the world as a trade language or diplomatic language. It is a language of science, aviation, computer, diplomacy and tourism. All humans have their own ways of communication. It allows to the share our ideas, thoughts and feelings with other. It has the power of build scientists, societies. There are the 4 major skills for learning language: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. All are integral to everyday life. Proper knowledge of the particular language gives us chance to express ourselves in front of the other. We learn it by studying how people use language, what word and phrase any unconsciously choose and combine can help us better understanding ourselves. Seddon in 2013 said, it is obvious that English play an important role in the international interaction. In include economic relationship among countries, international business relationship, global trading, and others. English mainly act a lingua franca. Lingua franca is a language that is the use communication among different countries. English is a business, education, and information sharing. English is widely used by the international business community to communicate across national border and correspondence in the English is a very essential in higher education and social training. Most of books are in English in translate in English. So English has become a medium of the instruction in education in most universities and higher education institute of the world. Media and entertainment.
Ma'am,
English is
please wind.
essential to access to world. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, please wind up in 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. English is essential to access to world media and entertainment satellite channels. Around the world, telecast news and wise views in English. Games and sports are also broadcast in English. Cinemas, cartoons, and other media's production are available in English. Use in English in internet and press. On the internet and majority of websites are written and created in English, even sites in other language often given you the option to translate the sites
It is the primary language of the press. More newspapers and books are writing in English than in any other languages. Travel and businesses. Research from the over the world show the cross-border business communication is most often conducted in English and many international companies accept employees to be the fluent in English. Global companies such as Airbus, Daimler, Fast Rating, Nokia, Renault, Samsung, Swap, Technicolor, and Microsoft in Beijing have mandated English as their official corporate language. In addition, in 2010, the company of Rakuten, a Japanese cross between Amazon and eBay, made it mandatory for their 7,100 Japanese employees to able to speak in English. My second topic is online language and online English language in learning. English as a four skills that are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. To speak is to listen, and to write is to read. Without the integration between these four skills, English will be clueless. In our Egyptian environment, students believe the English only consists of two main things considered at the high quality as a qualified applicant, and the skills will be carry the applicant to get a good jobs in the higher position in the national and international profession. Due to the COVID-19 online teaching, learning becomes a part and parcel of our life. We cannot directly interact with students, so we reach to them by using certain online tools to make the connected to their studies. And nowadays, it becomes very essential for the teacher to learn more and more online modes of teaching and learning. It is the duty and responsibility of the teacher to make this process fruitful and more interactive for students. While learning English online, there is a worldwide technology that use the web, mail, news group, and text, audio and video conferencing. Online learning is always connect to the internet. It can be used
Ma'am,
a long distance. Yes, sir.
last. Ma'am, please conclude your paper, ma'am. We are running short
Only,
of time.
only, only 1 minute, sir. I
Yes,
will
ma'am.
conclusion. Finally, my conclusion is, I say my conclusion, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
English is one of the most used and dominating language in the world. This is having its impact on every field of work. Undoubtedly, English play a much greater role in the world that is the inevitable for people to ignore it fully. It has bright future. It helps connect us to the global world, and it can also help us to our personal and professional life. Although learning English can be challenging and time consuming, we can see that is also very valuable to learn and can create many opportunities. It is an important language because we use this language to communication with other countries' people. English is a common language, and you can use English to become an international person. In this global era, the people are urged to the able to the communicating globally. English language play a very important role, especially in international communication. By mastering in the English, people will able to learn more knowledge and gather more information. English help people to get jobs in globalization, and English as a majority in online learning process. Today, teachers are taking more efforts to make this process more interactive and interesting for students so that they can learn with the interest and enthusiasm. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. And now our last presenters, I would like to call upon Mr. Abdul Jabbar, Assistant Professor, Department of Education and Training, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, to present his paper. The title of his paper is "What Does It Mean to Teach English Through Online Mode?" Over to you, sir.
Yeah, it's very good evening to all.
And
I'm
sir,
very
sorry to interrupt you, sir. We are running short of time. Please try to wind up your paper within 5 minutes, sir.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, the two issues I'll be discussing right now, both. what are the issues related with online teaching. First major thing which I have been discussing in my article is nothing but relation of integration of the skills. We know in any languages we have four skills: listening, reading, listening, reading, writing, and speaking. How to be integrated, what is the platform to be articulated for integrating these skills, how the listening skills to be integrated with the reading, or should be integrated with the speaking. The physical platforms, we have many options. We might have been getting more times or greater time to interact with the students. Even we can go to the house of the students, even we can interact with their parents. We have had different options in terms of physical platforms. In the case of online, we don't have the kind of platform to integrate a different kind of skills we are looking forward in the case of language teaching. The next thing I'm discussing about is that the approach. We have grammar translation method, we have bilingual approach, we have direct method, we have constructivist approach also. How we can integrate this kind of approach? Even we say usually when we are practicing the pedagogical platforms or pedagogical implication in the textbook, through the textbook or through the classroom, we usually telling that okay, according to the context we can go for the bilingual approach, or we can go for the direct method, or either other method also. In the case of online teaching, how we can get use of this different approach. Okay, whether we are looking forward to have constructivist approach, whether we are going for the bilingual approach, this is the main thought we have to have in the case of every teacher. Okay, every teacher, I mean, like English teacher, how the suitable approach and method according to the situation we have to have. The last thing, I will be for getting rid of these issues, I have one suggestion. Through my article I will be disclosing that future oriented pedagogy. The first future oriented pedagogy, we can go for the yeah, in the in the arena of the business, in the arena of communication or interpersonal skills, we have pertinent skills to be improved or skyrocket in the case of future oriented pedagogy. One suggestion I'm looking forward to have for the teachers is that future oriented pedagogy with inclusion of communication skill, interpersonal skill, and working etiquette. And last thing, we are living in the arena of we are, as a teacher, we are the digital immigrants. In the case of students, they are termed as a digital natives. This wide gap between the digital native and digital immigrants should be overcome. Okay, this kind of two issues I have given here, and two major suggestion also I have given here. We can go ahead, we can looking forward to have implemented this kind of new suggestions in our next kind of seminars and conferences also. Thank you for giving me a kind of opportunity, especially to our Dr. Samir Siddiqui sir and CPDUMT stakeholders. Thank you all.
Thank you so very much, sir. Now I would like to request our chairperson, Dr. P. Sharad Chandra sir, to share his observations regarding the papers presented here.
So, good afternoon, and it's really informative and illuminating presentations so far we have seen. And I just wind up in 1 minute. I'll close the session. There's a saying called a short speech may not be the best one, but the best speech is definitely a short one. So we have 4 presenters here, and they are very good at presenting papers, and they have done some good work in that. And digitalization, national education policy, and blended learning, And one speaker is talking about ICT, information and communicative technology. And one person is talking about the knowledge of English would be the better title, which I observe. English knowledge, instead of saying that, you can also use the word knowledge of English is better, because she's talking about many different varieties of possibilities that you can learn English. And also, last speaker is talking about the integration of language skills. But here I would like to add one more thing. When we talk about online teaching, as all teachers are very much involved in the online teaching nowadays, if we leave the pandemic situation, but online teaching is already there in before and after, and now we will still continue the same teaching learning processes. But one more thing I want to add is that viewing is also another language skill that is going to come as a full-fledged skill, and it is also called the fifth macro skill in language learning and teaching process. And the Canadian curriculum, they were also doing some research on that, viewing as a separate language skill. If you add listening, speaking, reading, writing, and also you have viewing, because of we are using online teaching and learning process, because it's a process of understanding visual text. All the students and teachers, now we are all looking at the visual text using the system or mobiles or everything. So viewing is also another kind of thing, language skill that we have to concentrate on. And I end up with these simple words. And thank you, the organizers, and especially Professor Siddiqui, and also the organizers, then the AV team and everyone. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. And thank you, best wishes, and stay safe.
Now I would like to thank all the paper presenters for their enlightening papers, and my sincere thanks is to our chairperson, Dr. Sharat Chandra sir, for his valuable remarks. And I also would like to thank all the participants to be listening patiently all the papers, and my sincere thanks for the IMC staff for their technical support. And I would like to thank the dynamic personality, Professor Muhammad Sami Siddiqui Saab, Director, Center for Development of Urdu Medium Teacher, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. And without his, we can say that without him, the event wouldn't have been possible. So I extend my sincere thanks to each and everyone who participated in the session in any form. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Line. I'm your host for this session, Dr. Mudassir Ahmed Gauri. As you know, this seminar has been running for 2 days, and we had different paper presentations. We had 5 paper presentations and 1 panel discussion. I'm pleased to share with my viewers that we have invited Professor Dhananjaya from JNU. We're also pleased to have with this esteemed Register Professor Siddiqui Mahmood sir, who is also chairing this session. Thank you so much sir, for joining us. But before we invite our panel professors, I would request humbly my colleague, Faculty of Director of Distance Education, Dr. Aleem, to recite few verses of Holy Quran to regenerate our souls.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تلهكم أموالكم ولا أولادكم عن ذكر الله ومن يفعل ذلك فأولئك هم الخاسرون. وأنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي أحدكم الموت فيقول رب لولا أخرتني إلى أجل قريب فأصدق وأكن من الصالحين ولن يؤخر الله نفسا إذا جاء أجلها والله خبير بما تعملون صدق الله العظيम। इज़ान गिरामी क़द्र, ये सूरतुल मुनाफ़िक़ून की आखिरी 3 आयतों की तिलावत का शर्फ हासिल किया गया, आयत नंबर 9 तक 11, जिसका तर्जमा समाअत फरमाएं। ए ईमान वालो, तुम्हारे माल और तुम्हारी औलाद कहीं तुम्हें अल्लाह की याद से ही गाफिल न कर दें, और जो शख्स ऐसा करेगा तो वही लोग नुकसान उठाने वाले हैं। और तुम इस माल में से जो हमने तुम्हें अता किया है अल्लाह की राह में खर्च करो, कब्ल इसके कि तुम में से किसी को मौत आ जाए, फिर वो कहने लगे कि ए मेरे रब, तूने मुझे थोड़ी मुद्दत तक मोहल्लत और क्यों न दे दी कि मैं सदका और खैरात कर लेता और नेकोकारों में हो जाता। और अल्लाह हरगिज़ किसी शख्स को मोहल्लत नहीं देता जब उसकी मौत का वक्त आ जाता है, और अल्लाह उन कामों से खूब आगाह है जो तुम करते हो। जज़ाकुमुल्लाहु खैरा।
Jazakallah khair. I now request my IMCQ technical team to please kindly play the MANUU Tarana.
ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ज़बान उर्दू का आशिया है, ज़बान उर्दू का आशिया है। ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू। कलाम सारे है दर्ज रूह में, कलम से उतरा हुआ बदन है। ये इल्म का शहर घर है मेरा, मेरा मदरसा मेरा वतन है। तालीम का मौसम है, तहजीब की फसलें हैं, हम रोशनी करते हैं, सूरज की नस्लें हैं। उर्दू की उड़े खुशबू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, ये जामियाए। जो दाना गुजरे थे इस जमीन से, जो दाना गुजरे थे इस जमीन से, वो इल्म के बीज बो गए हैं। बड़े हुए जब पौधे बढ़ के, हमारे कद ऊंचे हो गए हैं। हम चांद की पेशानी जब छू के निकलते हैं, कायनात में है पाँव और मार्स पे चलते हैं। उर्दू की उड़े खुशबू, ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू, 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 ये जामियाए ज़बान उर्दू। ज़बान उर्दू का आशिया है, ये जामियाए
As you know, this seminar is the brainchild of our Professor Muhammad Abdul Samir Siddiqui Saab, Director CPDUMT. What better way than to listen to him in this valedictory session? I humbly request Professor Muhammad Abdul Samir Siddiqui Saab.
Honorable Chairperson of this session, Registrar of the University, Professor Siddiqui Muhammad Mahmood Saab, our guest, Professor Dhananjay Singh, Chairperson, Center for English Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi, and all the participants of this online seminar. I feel happy while presenting a report of the activities and the things that have happened in the last 2 days in this seminar on teaching English online. I first of all thank all the participants who have registered and attended this seminar. Sir, I'm happy to inform you that more than 500 teachers, school teachers, college lecturers, research scholars, and university faculties have registered for this seminar. And in the last 1 month, we received more than 60 abstracts, 50 plus abstracts actually. And out of that, 25 papers were selected to be presented in these 2 days. And in the last 2 days, we had these presentations, except for a few papers which were dropped due to technical difficulties. Even in the last session, a paper by Ms. Madhvi was dropped because of the connectivity issues. I apologize for that. Apart from the paper presentation sessions, we had Professor M.J. Varsi, Muhammad Jahangir Varsi, Head Department of Linguistics, Aligarh Muslim University, as the guest speaker in the inaugural session. The Pro-Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor S.M. Rahmatullah Sahab, presided over the inaugural session. The keynote address, which set the tone for this seminar, was delivered by the Head Department of English, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Professor Shugufta Shaheen Ma'am. Apart from the keynote, we had one invited lecture by Dr. Joseph from Central University of Kerala. He spoke on developing online courses and conducting them. And we also had a panel discussion today in which the teachers from MANUU, teachers from teaching at different levels. Actually, there were 4 panelists. One of them was from school who's teaching at Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan in the Mumbai region. The other panelist was from the engineering background, teaching to engineering students at BITS, Hyderabad. There were 2 more teachers, one from CTE Bhopal of our university and the head at Lucknow Satellite Campus, Dr. Huma Yaqub. So these panelists, they discussed the issues related to teaching English online. What I feel to be mentioned is that in the last 1.5 years, when this shift became more prominent, what has happened is we have discussed so many applications and technically related things, but we didn't pay any attention to the pedagogy part of it, the methodology part of it. And I'm happy to inform the gathering that in the last 2 days, in the papers that were presented and in the panel discussions, what we tried our level best was to discuss about the teaching of the language, keeping the language, uh, giving the language the priority than the technical things. Instead of discussing which app is suitable, we tried, as one of our panelists said, to discuss what are the skills that we plan to impart, that we plan to give to our students, and for that particular skill, which app or which way of doing it online will be better. That was our focus. And we it's the participants who will, through their comments in the chat box, tell us how far we were able to do that. uh, i I take this opportunity to thank all the guests, uh, all the keynote speaker, and the chairpersons who were present for each session. I also congratulate and I extend my thanks to all the paper presenters, because they actually made this show happen. I take this opportunity to thank the university administration, especially the Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Sayyid Ainul Hasan Sahib, the registrar who is present here and presiding over the valedictory, Professor Siddiqui Muhammad Mahmood Sahib. And I would like to thank Professor Dhananjay also, because he gave us time and joined us, and will benefit from his talk in the valedictory as well. I also thank the technical team, especially the director of IMC, Professor Dr. Rizwan Ahmed Sahab, and his entire team, especially Hashmat Sahab, Salahuddin Sahab, Ubaid, and everybody who is involved in it. I'm thankful to the hosts of each of the sessions and everybody who is involved in conducting this program. A special thanks is due to my colleagues at CPDUMT, the Center for Professional Development of Urdu Medium Teachers, because with their back support, this show could run. Thanks a lot, and I request all the participants to write their comments, their feedbacks. We had shared the links for feedbacks separately, but apart from that, in the chat box also, they can write their feedbacks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for briefing it in a subtle manner the whole thing about this online workshop. I have the honor now to introduce you to our guest speaker, Professor Dhananjaya Singh. Before introducing him, it's my responsibility to brief a bit about his biodata and his academic achievements. Professor Dhananjaya Singh is an academician, translator, and a poet. Professor Dhananjaya did his master's from Rajiv Gandhi University and did his MPhil and PhD from JNU. He has been teaching courses and supervising research on poetry, classical Indian aesthetics, to name a few. Professor Dhananjaya is also assistant editor of the Encyclopedia of Indian Poetics. It is interesting to note that this project is sponsored by the Sahat Academy. He has also developed an online course for MOOCs. His scholarship skills can be understood by the number of papers he has published in different reputed journals. He has also published certain books. Among the notable are Fables in the Indian Narrative Tradition. These are some of the minute glimpses that I have mentioned. There's a lot that I can talk and speak about, but due to paucity of time, I'm just skipping through the resume. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation, and I now humbly request you to deliver your talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Abdul Aleem Sahab. Thank you so much for your kind words. Respected Registrar Professor Siddiqui Muhammad Mahmood Sahab, the Director of CPDUMT, Professor Muhammad Abdul Samid Siddiqui Sahab, all the distinguished faculty members at the Department of Professional Development of Urdu Language Teachers, the Center. I must also uh, recognize and perhaps remember the contribution of my former senior colleague, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of your university, Professor Hassan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. In my first interaction that I have had with Professor Sami, I said that, well, this is not an area where I actually specialize, but he was kind enough for me to invite me. And I'm so glad, and I congratulate the department and I congratulate the entire university for holding this very important, seminar, workshop, and discussion, interaction among language teachers, especially in the context of pandemic. And as you know, social situations call for different methodologies. A situation that has in fact affected us and affected the globe, globe at large, obviously calls for all teachers of English language and literature to think about our methodology and pedagogy. Not that digital platforms or digital media or digital technology has been very new. It has been used. The fact that the Google Classroom or different platforms that we are in a way forced by the pandemic to use right now has been there. One good thing about there cannot be any good thing about the pandemic, obviously, but we as language teachers and literature teachers have in fact have had to use digital technology and online and take recourse to online teaching. From my experience as a teacher, as teachers been teaching, obviously not that long, but from my 15 years of language, I mean literature teaching, and language is such an important part of it. I would like to share some of my own ideas and my experiences and perspectives. Even as I understand that for the last 2 days, you've had a serious and intensive discussion on various aspects of English language teaching, literature teaching online. Now we know that uh, digital digital medium or the digitization of academia, for instance, the digitization of the world itself has prevented us not only with a new reality but with new opportunities. Right now, I was listening to Sami Saab, obviously. One very key development in the conference that he was talking was this, that the focus was more on language teaching. The focus was that primarily language teaching medium is important. Obviously, online medium or digital medium is important. Now, what the digital medium does is something which is path breaking, of course, which is this, that in a way it sort of makes us to reflect upon the traditional modes of language teaching or literature teaching. Or when I say literature teaching, I mean teaching language through literature, which is of course is one of the methods that all of you might be obviously familiar with in English language teaching. Now, what this digital, or the use of technology in language teaching, what it does is this, that it sort of, it sort of brings us a serious intervention where digital medium or the different platforms or forms of communication, obviously when we are doing language teaching or doing literature teaching, either to teach language or to teach culture or to teach politics or to teach history, what we all as teachers are aspiring for, obviously, is to establish a form of communication with the learners, a form of communication with the students. And sorry, online teaching or online mode of teaching, or sorry, digital mode of teaching, what it does, of course, is that it brings to us, or it introduces new forms of communication other than, let's say, face-to-face teaching which happens in the classroom. And because of this, obviously, whether we are like in JNU, primarily we use the Google Classroom. You might be using different online platforms in your colleges, in your university. What it does is something to be taken as an opportunity, for instance, which is this, that it calls for entirely a new set of pedagogies, a new set of pedagogies because of sorry, because of the availability of technology. It calls for, it gives us different varieties of text or textual forms, for instance. Textual forms that come from information and multimedia or multimodal technologies that we use as teachers, or we are supposed to use. Now, I may have a slightly different perspective, possibly what I got in the last paper, obviously, respecting that idea, of course, as I do. I also feel that this is also an occasion where we, as teachers, as language and literature teachers associated with actually developing language skills among our students, we might be aware of the fact, or we might think about the fact that how does that availability of new technology, not only availability, but necessity of new technology as such, transform in the way how we traditionally have thought about language skills, for instance. Like language skills, as all of you would perhaps know better than I do, people who are actually researching in English language teaching, which is this, that obviously as all of us know, that there are 4 language skills, obviously: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Now, am I audible? Am I there? It's something new for me. I can only see myself. So, am I there? Oh yeah, yes. Sorry. Now, so the thing is this: what I was trying to say here is this, that it in a way also makes us think, and I was just thinking about before I actually before I thought about, just 10 minutes before actually this program, is this, that how does the digital medium as such make us think anew about language skills? So obviously we know that speech and writing, these are the 2 primary productive forms of communication that all of us want our students to be to acquire, for instance, to acquire and develop speech and writing. And obviously listening and reading are the receptive skills, obviously. What digital medium does, or what this world actually governed by digital forms of communication, obviously, whether it's the blog or Facebook or Twitter or social media. On one hand, what it does is this, that it therefore questions the fact that teaching and learning can be individual centric, right? Individual centric. That's one departure, I feel. That's one transformation that is happening here. Why? Because of social media, because of different forms of the availability of information as such, or availability of knowledge, or let's say, to use another word, the more democratization of knowledge as such, democratization of knowledge, the traditional mode of teaching and learning, where learning was more centered in the teacher, and there was the text, obviously, which was in form of a book, and the learner, obviously, and the process of learning and teaching was more linear. Obviously, even with the communicative method of teaching, where, let's say, there was more emphasis on real communicative environment and context, where it was actually assumed that rather than a traditional mode of teaching through grammar method, there should be more emphasis on communication, and therefore, or communicability, or the communication process, where the learner was the center. All of us know this is a radical departure, obviously. Now, what digital medium has done is this: it has democratized this whole process of learning and teaching. Once it is democratized, then of course, which means that there is an availability of texts, of different forms of text. For instance, if I may be teaching, let's say, to a first year student a certain poem, let's say of Wordsworth or of Eliot, and through that poem I want to teach a language use. Now, what it does is this: that obviously the student has ideally has access to different forms, obviously, different media related to that particular poem, let's say. Or for instance, let's say a certain language use itself. Let's talk of syntax, for instance. Or let's talk of pronunciation itself, right? A certain sound, a certain morphology, for instance, or certain lexis. It's all available. So what the digital mode has done and made it possible for us, obviously. I know as teachers, we're a little reluctant, for instance, I myself am, because right now I said I'm not visible. It's a little problematic. But what it does is this, that it makes possible enormous variety of textual materials which is available at hand. And that means that language teaching and language learning is not a process from a teacher through a text to a learner. We always use the instructional aids, obviously, but they were all kind of limited to this mode of linear mode of communication. What it has done is this, that it's presented us a panel of different visual text, which of course brings me to another point, obviously, when I was talking about how digital medium or digital mode has transformed. So apart from the four language skills, obviously, reading, writing, speaking, listening, and speaking, what it has brought to us is seeing, for instance, seeing the visual as such, seeing and hearing. Now, I'm using hearing different from this listening, for instance. Because why? Because what I'm trying to say is that so we may have right now these 5 language skills, 5 or 6 language skills, where seeing is equally important. So if you, let's say, if you're teaching a Google Classroom, using Google Classroom, which I do for my students at a different level, you might be doing other Zoom or other platform, or this particular platform that we're using right now. It gives us an enormous possibility. One might also think that we all want the pandemic period to end. I mean, and we all anxiously, wait for that time. But perhaps even post-pandemic, we will be continuing using this technology, which is amazing in a way that it's giving us an extra skill, let's say, which is of visuality, and which makes it possible for students to see the text and the connected text. For instance, if I have to, let's say, teach a line from Eliot, T.S. Eliot, or I don't have time to quote it. For instance, let's say Prufrock, the beginning of Prufrock, let us go, you and I, when this evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Now, this is the beginning of a poem by T.S. Eliot, as all of you know, obviously, Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. As a language teacher, I might like to use it. Why I would like to use it? It's important for me. It's important for me. In what way is it important for me? It makes me do certain creative things with language teaching, which perhaps not using literature will not allow me to do, which is this, that it allows me to teach or to share with my students or interact with my student different forms of language, emotive language, language of consciousness, there's the Prufrock's language of thought, rational language, for instance, language of description, for instance, right? All sorts of language. Now, what the digital medium does with a little bit of creativity on the part of the teacher, using different, let's say, separate panels with the same lines, making it visual for the students, obviously, to appreciate, is just that how language teaching becomes rather a more kind of a comprehensive kind of a medium, where the student is not simply focusing on one particular item, on one particular aspect of language learning, but can actually focus on 4 or 5. It's similar to actually we seeing a painting, for instance. We seeing a painting, a visual thing there, right there, different aspects of it, coming back to it. Now that is what the digital medium has made it possible. And that's what calls for the use of what we understand as multimodality in language teaching, which is this, that what I'm trying to say here is this, that we have to appreciate that at this point, we are talking, even though India is a diverse country, India is a country with a lot of division. There are a lot of students who are extremely poor. And I like the place that I teach, you as teachers also must be feeling that accessibility to technology also is a major impediment. Obviously, students in this country do not have, many of them do not have enough money to even have a mobile phone which can, but all this nevertheless, we might say that obviously that this digital obviously medium or the technology, for instance, what it provides is something for us to think about in terms of what is understood within quote and multimodality and how it could be used in language teaching. So that's what it is. Thank you so much, for inviting me here. It's been wonderful to be a part of this event. Yeah. I cannot hear.
First of all, I would like to address to Professor Dhananjay, Professor Dhananjay Singh, Center for English Studies, JNU, New Delhi, for being with us and for guiding us as a guest speaker in this validity program. Professor Abdul Samir Siddiqui Sahab, the guest speaker, all the organizers of CPDUMT, Media Center team, and distinguished guests, resource persons, and dear participants. मौलाना आज़ाद नेशनल उर्दू यूनिवर्सिटी की जानिब से ये मेरा अखलाकी फरीज़ा है कि मैं आप तमाम लोगों का उर्दू में इस्तकबाल करूं। मुझे मालूम है कि ये सेमिनार इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज टीचिंग पर है और इसकी कार्रवाई इंग्लिश में जारी है। इसीलिए मैं अपने कंक्लूडिंग पॉइंट्स को भी आपके सामने इसी अंदाज में रखना चाहूँगा। By now, all the viewers and the participants of this two-day national seminar on teaching of English online, by now they might be very, very clear that the ultimate purpose of teaching English at school level is making the students to be the good communicators in English. To develop communication skills in English is the ultimate target of teaching English at school level. I'm not talking about teaching English at higher education level or teaching English at technical programs. I'm talking about teaching English at school level. So the ultimate purpose is to develop communication skills in English. When we talk about communication skills, as our guest speaker has covered, there comes 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and then writing. Now, if you just think over these 4 skills, you will find that the 5th skill is also very much necessary. And what is that? That's nothing but talking. Because sometimes a person may be able to speak, but he's not able to talk. And with this, there comes a set of skills, 5 skills, when we talk about teaching English at a school level. Friends, the difficulty in our modern time is that the days have gone when there was very, very simple criteria to be successful in one's life. Show the degree and get the success. damn easy it was to be successful in one's life. Maybe before 30 years, 40 years, the criteria changed into two different requirements. One, you must possess a degree and you must possess some specialization. And from that time, we have seen that professional courses, professional programs, they came into being. So maybe before 30 years, two requirements were there. One, general degree. The second one is professional qualification. You should be specialized in some or the other profession. Now, if you think of modern times, you will find that there are many youngsters having general degree as well as specialization. But it seems that the success is so annoyed with them that they are not able to achieve it. Why? Because the criteria has changed due to tremendous increase in population. Now the criteria consist of 4 different points. First, general degree. Second, specialization. Third, computer literacy. And the fourth one is good communication skills in English. Whether it is right or wrong, but the fact is, even if you want to be a professor in Arabic or a professor in Sanskrit, then you need to have mastery over English as well. There is no exception to it. So irrespective of the field or the area of your specialization, you need to possess these 4 things. First is general degree. The second one is the specialization. The third one is computer literacy. And the fourth one is good communication skills in English. Now, having understood the very purpose of teaching English at a school level is to develop this good communication skills in English. Now, there are teachers and the students. It is said that if good and effective teachers are available, then many issues, especially in regard to teaching and learning of English, get resolved. But the million-dollar question is, in a vast country like ours, do we have such teachers available at our schools? The answer may not be very satisfactory, because now and then we see different videos in which the teachers have been shown teaching English. How is their pronunciation? What is their knowledge of grammar? How much do they know of the spellings and all that? We all know very well. So the question arises, to an educational system wherein the trained teachers are not available, how to achieve this very particular purpose of teaching and learning English at a school level? So such trained and effective teachers are not going to be revealed from the sky. But we have to prepare ourselves to be such effective teachers. And such seminars, conferences, workshops, extension lectures, etc., they help us to develop ourselves. And for that purpose, I really congratulate the CPDUMT team and especially its director, Professor Abdul Sami Siddiqui Sahab, for organizing this wonderful 2-day national seminar on teaching English online. Now the question is, if I'm the participant of this seminar and if I attain with utmost sincerity for 2 days, by fulfilling all the formalities, registration is done, attendance is given, everything, is it possible for me to be an effective teacher just after attending this 2-day seminar? Answer is, of course, no. Though the seminar may not make you a perfect teacher, but it may realize you how to be an effective teacher. It may be a beginning, it may not be an end, but it may be a very good and effective beginning. Whatever methodology you have discussed here, which is true for the learning of the students, is also true for your own learning. If I go by this methodology and approach, I can learn and improve my own English as well. Friends, if you just compare teaching and learning of English with that of our mother tongue, then even before joining the school, a child is able to communicate in his mother tongue. And he does it with utmost correctness. How does he learn that language before coming to the school? He learns it through environment. So if proper environment is created, then language learning becomes so easy. I think being a student of school in those days, my friends and I used to think how an Englishman who might not have been educated, how would he learn English and will survive in that society, because there everybody speaks English. But later on we realize they learn English as we learn Urdu, Hindi, Telugu, whatever languages we have in our environment. So creating environment becomes the first and foremost essential requirement for teaching and learning English. Now, how to create this environment and what's the meaning of creating the environment? Again, the environment will not be revealed from the sky. It is to be created by us. And by creating environment of English, we mean an environment wherein listening, speaking, reading, and writing becomes the most important components of our environment. Now here, the role of the teacher is to create the environment and to see that the children learn by interacting with that conducive environment. For that purpose, what a teacher must possess is the encouraging attitude. If the teacher's attitude is very encouraging and motivating, the children will interact with the environment and they will learn and they'll improve their communication skills in English. There are many teachers who are always worried in thinking whether grammar aspect is important, whether literature aspect is important, or whether skills aspect is important. I won't talk about literature because for that purpose, we need to wait for at least +2 level. As far as higher education is concerned, maybe the target might be the grammar. But at a school level, at higher level, maybe the target might be the literature. But as far as school level is concerned, the general confusion is whether grammar first or skills first. Now, many researchers have proved that many students do possess what is called as a phobia for the grammar. So it's better not to name your lessons to be the grammar lessons, but it is to be taught informally and what you call as in the form of functional grammar with the help of examples without naming grammatical terms. And such type of method, which is very much essential at a school level, is branded as communicative method of teaching English. As far as communicative method of teaching English at a school level is concerned, there are certain changes and developments and improvements in communicative method of teaching English at a school level as well. It is because of constructivism that we have now. As far as the constructivist approach is concerned, it teaches us to enable the learners to fully utilize whatever previous knowledge of English language they possess, to interact with the environment, to use their previous knowledge, and to learn the new things. That is the constructivist approach in learning English language. There are many approaches of teaching English. There are some which are called as teacher-centric. There are some which are branded as student-centric. There are few others which may be branded as activity-centric or material-centric. Now, whether this approach is to be utilized or that approach is to be utilized, and the question, which method is the best method? I think the best possible answer for this question might be every teacher should be the Columbus of his own method of teaching. He should try to find out his own method as per the situation, as per the demands of the situation, as per the need of the students, in accordance with their previous knowledge, in accordance with their requirements, needs, necessities, interests, likings, dislikings, etc., etc., etc. And while doing so, a teacher cannot forget his own personality as well, because his own personality also affects the teaching learning process. If some method, technique, or approach is wonderful, but if I'm not capable of utilizing it effectively in the class, then what's the use of it? Because I'll not be able to take its fruits to the students. The students may not be able to learn through that approach because I'm not perfect in that. So even my personality, my likings, my dislikings, etc., etc., that also matter. So in short, we may say that that should be a golden blend of all these as per the situation, as per the requirements of the situation. Now, the new dimension that has to be thought over and which has been included in the very title of this two-day seminar is teaching online. Teaching English language online. This online factor, of course, is the new dimension and which is the gift of this COVID pandemic situation. Now, many of our friends, our resource persons, our guests, they have spoken about how to cope up with this situation of online teaching. And I think very less has been left out to be concluded here. The only point with which I would like to conclude is whatever facilities, technical facilities, technological facilities are available, utilize them fully in such a fashion that you do not miss any of the merits of offline teaching, and you also make effective use of online facilities as well. And if we go like that, our English language teaching will become wonderful. I wish you all the best, and I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the organizers of this two-day seminar for providing me this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, sir. It's always a pleasure to listen to you for a wonderful and insightful lecture. I deem it my responsibility to pay a word of thanks to all the participants and the set of team who made this program a successful run chase. I, at the very outset, would like to thank our esteemed registrar, Professor Muhammad Siddiqui Muhammad Mahmood Saab, for gracing us the occasion. I would also like to thank Professor Muhammad Abdul Samir Siddiqui, Director CPDUMT. I would also like to thank all the keynote speakers, guest speakers, chairperson, paper presenters, and hosts, the technical team of IMC, and non-teaching staff for serving timely tea and snacks, and above all, our viewers who made this program a successful run chase. I have an announcement for the viewers that the participation certificates or the presentation certificates will be distributed within the next 48 hours. On that note, I would also like to thank Professor Dhananjaya for joining us. I would also like to thank Pro-VC of our university, SM Rahmatullah Saab, and Vice Chancellor of our university, Professor Said Anul Hasan Saab. On that note, I have an announcement for our participants and presenters that the certification distribution will be sent to your respective mails in the next 48 hours. On that note, I take a leave and wish to meet you again anytime soon. We would like to conclude this session with the national anthem. I request my
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you all.